Well, hello out there, everybody from Beyond 60 Unscripted. Welcome back. This is the show, as you know, where we try to have really honest and meaningful conversations about what it really means to live fully in this season of our lives. After we've left our big jobs, gone to our smaller jobs or our projects that may be smaller in size, but big in meaning to all of us. So today we're going to be talking about something many people, I don't just say I dream about, but sometimes we hesitate to fully step in and do it, and that is travel after 60. For some people, retirement opens the door to trips that have they've been putting off for years. I know I just took a trip last year that I had been putting off for years. For others, travel sounds wonderful, but it can also feel a little bit overwhelming because you don't know where to begin and you don't know how to plan. So we're going to talk about how you balance this adventure with comfort, health, safety, and budget. So this conversation is for anyone who ever said one day I would love to go wherever that is and wondered whether that day might finally be here. So with that, I am delighted to have Sandra DeShazier join us today as our guest. Sandra, you will just be impressed. I was so impressed with Sandra. I'll let her introduce herself. However, what I will say about her is that Sandra is a seasoned traveler. She's a travel expert, and she has helped countless people turn someday into real meaningful journeys for today. So, Sandra brings both a personal experience and professional wisdom to this conversation. And she understands that travel is not just about booking flights and hotels. In fact, when we were preparing for this session, she told me things I didn't know. And I don't consider myself a seasoned traveler, but I've been a few places. It's also this she's also going to help people think through what kind of experience they want. And what I liked about her, and she'll tell you this, is she asks she asks people what support they need, what kind of experience they want to have, and how to make travel feel possible, enjoyable, and meaningful at this stage of life or any stage. So, Sandra, thank you so much for being here. So, tell us about yourself. Tell our audience about yourself.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you so much for inviting me to be a guest on the Beyond 60 Unscripted podcast. It is an honor and also very delightful to be able to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is travel, whether it be domestic, international, or going within your state, in your neighborhood. Travel is paramount, I feel, for people. My mantra I've adopted is I'm going to thrive, not just survive, for this last third or quarter of my life. And really, I've always been an avid traveler. So, just a few things. I started out in a small town outside of Pittsburgh and an avid reader. So, I always dreamt of going to faraway places. My first encounter was in high school. I studied Spanish, French, German, Latin, and
Wow.
decided I wanted.
I thought I was doing something when I studied just French.
No, I studied those languages and decided to go on to college, which was Temple University, with my bachelor's degrees in Spanish and international business. And then I went, while I was in college, all foreign language majors had to take other languages. So I also studied Portuguese and Arabic. So, with that being said, I got into education and became a Spanish teacher. But I had traveled to Mexico as an exchange student in high school. I did the same as going to the Universidad Autónoma de Mexico in Temple University or study abroad, um, becoming a Spanish teacher. And from there, just deciding that I would pick a place inside the United States to travel to, and then I would pick a place outside the United States to travel to. So that's how Sandra's travel adventures, that thought uh, came to mind. But I have been a travel curator for the last 7 years. And that's where I got into using all of that experience in helping people discover their adventures.
That is amazing, Sandra. And you left out a minor detail, which isn't necessarily germane to this, but Sandra has a PhD. She's
Yes.
very analytical. And so when you have a conversation with Sandra about your travel, you're going to have a real conversation. Just me doing this and setting up for this, I had a real conversation with her. And I love how she talks about curating travel experiences. Now, before we get into the practical pieces, because there are many, I want to just start with the big picture. Travel can mean so many different things after 60 at any age, but we're here for people beyond 60. Travel can be adventure, it can be rest, it can be connection, it can be curiosity, it could be healing. You can travel with family and have a family experience, or even a way of just rediscovering yourself. So, before we get into our full conversation with Sandra, I want to talk about our Beyond 60 buzz. We always sort of start with something to get us started. So this week's buzz comes from Travel and Leisure, and it's in an article titled, I'm Spending Retirement Traveling the World. Here's how I make it affordable. And affordability is really important because after we retire or rewire, we don't have a lot of funds coming in. And so we have to live on what we have. And so this article looks at the way many older adults are making travel a meaningful part of retirement while also being very thoughtful about costs. This article cites a 2000, and so it's a very recent, a 2025 AARP, American Association of Retired Persons survey of adults 50 and older who found that more than 70% of people expected to travel within the year, and 45% anticipated international travel. It also notes that 95% of respondents agreed that travel is good for their mental health, while cost remains one of the biggest barriers. What I appreciate about this article is that it doesn't frame travel or retirement travel as something only available to people with unlimited resources. Instead, it offers practical strategies such as traveling during shoulder season, considering rail trips, watching for airfare deals, booking last minute rentals, and joining travel group trips. These are all the things that we're going to talk about today. So let's get started. Travel can mean so many different things after 60 at any age, but we're here for people beyond 60. Travel can be adventure, it can be rest, it can be connection, it can be curiosity, it can be healing. You can travel with family and have a family experience, or even a way of just rediscovering yourself. From your perspective, how does travel change for people once they reach 60 or be over 60?
The biggest component, time. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
hurry up and get back to work. You are able to go on what I consider the off seasons,
Yeah.
which is when everybody else is not there, giving you the ability to explore more and for a cheaper price, which is
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
definitely helps your budget.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and also your life experiences, I think, keep you always wondering that what if that you say, oh, I should have done this if, but you're able to actually do it. And I think that makes people who are retired after 60, I think it makes them more energetic and more lively and sometimes more adventurous than what they would be while they were working because they want to make sure that they can get back and not be injured or anything. We don't want any injuries, but time is such a major component.
It is. It is. I took a long trip last year. I wouldn't have been able to do that when I was still working, as you indicated. And when you're working, you may have be tethered a little bit to your cell phone or to your computer. But when you are retired or rewired or whatever you're calling this stage of life, you can do the things you just said. So Sandra, what are your clients in this stage of life longing for? What do they come to you and they tell you? Are they looking for adventure, rest, connection? What kinds of things, bucket list things, what kinds of things do they tell you?
Well, it depends on the person. A lot of times they're looking at being able to connect with loved ones. They want to do things with their loved ones. So they might want to go, and I want to also make this clear. There are great ways to travel, and they don't always have to be abroad. For example, I've been doing a lot of train trips for people
I
who
love train
are
trips.
not feeling very
Mm,
comfortable with going outside the United States. They're going from different parts of the eastern part
mhm,
of
mhm.
America to west. They're going through the Colorado mountains. Some of them are going up through the Canadian Rockies. So they're exploring that. Um, Abroad, people are going places that they feel safe because right now, with how things are going, they're usually staying with the Caribbean islands. So
Mhm,
they're going places who they see where they feel they're going to be safe and also received well,
mhm, mhm.
because it is possible to go places where you are not received as well. And so those are some of the things that they're thinking about. They're thinking about life, their last part of their life. What do they want to do that will bring them joy?
Mhm, mhm. So for someone who is thinking, I would love to travel, but I don't even know where to begin, what would you say is the first step? You know, if they've never really, whether it's train, plane, automobile, or in country, out of country, what do you think? Where do you think people should begin? Or how would you advise them to begin? If I came to you and I said, Sandra, I want to go someplace, but I'm afraid to do this. I'm not afraid to do that. Well, how would you start?
Well, first, I'm going to ask, what's your budget? I
Okay,
need to know
that's a good
how much
starting
money
point.
you have to
Okay.
spend. What's your range? And then I say, first of all, and a lot of times people are like, why should, how is your health?
Okay.
Because I want to make sure that there may not be any restrictions, because there are some places that you can go and they have wheelchair accessible people who have mobility. And then there's some places they don't have that at all. So you're not able to venture out as much as a person that has mobility. So I would always ask them, and I also would say, please make sure you tell me everything, because I cannot give you good information if I don't have the whole picture of who you are, what your limitations may be. And I also need to know your fears. I
Mm-hmm.
want to know what it is that you like, oh, there's no way I would do that. And where are the places that you dreamed about going? And then from there, we curate the trip.
Okay. Now I was going to ask you later about safety and travel insurance. Maybe I'll just ask you right now. What
Right.
about when do you discuss, do you recommend people get travel insurance? Or
Absolutely.
medically, am I calling it right? Medical evacuation insurance or something? Is that the right term?
We call it a travel insurance.
Okay.
But what, in fact, to tell you the truth, I don't sell travel without the insurance.
Okay.
I just learned, um, it's to me an ethics question. I don't want to um, take a person's money
Mm-hmm.
and not prepare them for all aspects of travel,
Okay.
because there are things that can happen. Um, always, you always want to look at medical evacuation,
Yep.
emergency, and in a lot of places, they do not have tip-top medical. And
Mm-hmm.
you might need to be able to get home quickly and safely. And in order to do that, you should always purchase travel insurance. And I think one of the things I shared, I did have a friend, and they were in Greece at the time, and significant other got sick, and they were in the mountains or up in Santorini, Greece, where they had to be lifted via helicopter to come to Athens, Greece, and then from there get transported to the United States. And so what happened is that insurance allowed them to have a medical person come with them on the plane back home, and then the doctor released them and then they were able to go to whatever medical assistance that they needed when they got to the United States. So it's paramount. And as I said, I don't still travel without the travel insurance.
And especially at this age, we're healthy for the most part. If we're maybe not, but I'm hearing you say that even if you're not in tip-top health, even if you don't have I don't want to put words in your mouth, but even if you don't have the best mobility, you can curate an experience with guardrails, if you will, like travel insurance and so forth, so the person can have a good time. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Oh, absolutely. And not only that about the health insurance, I think we need to also talk about another aspect of when you're traveling international, and that's immunizations. There are, and I always have this site listed when I talk about the terms and conditions of my travel agency is, here is the link. We're going to go over what the immunizations are that you need to have to go to that country to safeguard your health while you're there, whether it be malaria, whether it be yellow fever, whether it be the tetanus, maybe hepatitis. They're just saying COVID, even though, it's not as prevalent as it was before, because remember, it was a big deal when COVID came about, you being tested before, being tested after. But you need to know how to safeguard your health while you're away.
Yeah, that is, and that is so important, because there may be some people who think they've waited too long to go to travel, but I am so pleased to hear you saying you can curate an experience for people as long as they're willing to work with you and do the things that are going to safeguard them. So let me just talk about then designing that right experience. You've worked with so many different kinds of travel people, single people, married couples,
Right.
partnered people, widows and widowers, friends traveling together,
Right.
families planning multi-generational trips. How would you tailor travel to fit these different life situations? Just pick any one of those, and just how would you
Oh,
tailor it?
perfect. I'll just go with multi-generational. They wanted to have a family reunion and bring their family. In fact, it was about 80. And we
80
chose
people, 80 people?
80, and we chose
Okay.
a cruise. And there were 5 generations on the cruise. It was such a great, it was so great getting to know all of um those people and
That's a
family. So
lot,
we
Sandra.
chose
80 people, that's a lot
80. Yes.
of all ages and generations.
Yes. The oldest being 87.
Okay.
We had two couples. One was celebrating their 55th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Another was celebrating their 60th anniversary. And then, of course, on the other end, we had newborns, those that were about one, that were
Uh-huh.
coming 1 and 2. And they sent me the best book back with all of their pictures and the family tree and everything like that. And the thing that was good about the cruise, we had some people that were in wheelchairs. We had people who had different issues with mobility, but everyone was able to enjoy themselves. So you didn't
Uh-huh.
just have to go off the ship to enjoy it. There were activities that we planned with them on the ship. We had like family game night. We had, and this was all, we had family game night. We had church service. Um,
Oh,
we had
wow.
a scavenger hunt. So those were the things that I planned with them, along with they had a committee. So they were like, these are the things we would like to do. Can you help us? Most certainly. Most certainly
That is
a
that is
joy.
that is wonderful.
Yes.
So I can just envision all this, but when you said 80 people, 80, I was just like, that's a lot of people, because
Right.
everybody wants something different, and you
Right.
were able to curate something to satisfy everybody.
Sure. Yeah. And you know, everybody does not want to venture out, depending on what ports you're at.
Yeah.
Sometimes you would have to go on a little boat, those
Yeah.
tugboats, to get
Yeah.
there, which are not, people that are in wheelchairs um, cannot go on those kinds of things. So if you do have something like that, what you can do, make sure you go on a cruise that is accessible to all people, as well as being able to get them wheelchair accessible rooms. So
Ooh.
those are available on cruises, as well as now, what I think is really good, they're starting to do solo rooms. So people who are
Yeah.
going by themselves don't have to pay double. So the travel industry is learning. I mean, to tell you the truth, it's $1 trillion business. So
Wow.
they have got to learn how to be available to all different types of groups. And they're doing that. And they have really diligently been doing that since COVID.
That, that is so great because I can remember a few years ago wanting to go on a trip by myself. I've never done a solo travel experience, and I'm gonna segue us into that. And you had to pay a single supplement and all of that. And I'm pleased to hear that. So let's talk about solo travel. For a lot of people, especially people again in this beyond 60 age group, many people are widowed, they may be divorced, they may be single, or have a partner who doesn't want to travel. And so solo travel can feel a bit exciting, but it can also sound a little bit intimidating.
Right.
So, what have talk a little bit about what you've seen when clients take the step to travel alone?
One of the things I do encourage, because I'm a solo traveler, that's how I started off, is to join travel groups.
Okay.
You can join travel groups, and I'm gonna name Travel Divas, which is out here in Atlanta. Uh, the Nomad Tribe was the first one that I ever joined, and they are all over the world. And you have connections with people no matter where you are. You can reach out via Facebook or also via Instagram and have, if you're someplace and you're not sure of where you're going, you can reach out to them. And so hats off to Vida Robinson, who was the founder, one of the first to do it in as far as Black travel internationally. I would say join those groups. What happened as I became a travel curator is I've learned to put together trips that are not as expensive by using some of those itineraries that those groups have had. Because oftentimes people who don't travel don't know the ins and outs. And by that, I'm saying, I'm going to give you an example. Going on a trip, a cruise with them to Greece, or I'll just say Spain, a lot of times they will do things like include a drink package. Well, if you don't drink, you're
Mhm.
you're going to be added sometimes $200 to $500 extra for that. So it's the knowledge of travel, which has really got me into being a travel curator because I wanted to know the ins and outs. And I also wanted to know how do I make sure people travel safely but within a budget. Because the reality of it is, a lot of people have not put away
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
travel. You know, when I was working as a principal, we had the Christmas club fund, we had the vacation fund. So you were
Mhm.
able to put money aside, which I would still tell people to do that right now. Um, and money is an issue. Some of us have it, some of us don't. Some of us are working extra jobs to go on
Mhm.
to those places that we want to go to. So I would say don't be afraid. Go with a group or go with a company that, for example, I'm going to say Road Scholar, which is ROAD, is
Mhm.
a
I've
group.
heard of that group.
Right.
Yes.
And they go around the world, and there are trips where they don't make you pay additional. A perfect example of that was my trip to Machu Picchu, to Lima, Peru, which is one of the seven wonders of the world. Came through Road Scholar, and I didn't have to pay extra because I was going by myself, but it allowed me to meet those people. So when we get to that country, we all meet together. And what a great way to meet new friends. In fact, I still communicate with about six of them. We always share one another's adventures. So you meet new people that way. But being a solo traveler, I would say join a travel group, or try to go with a group so won't be alone, especially when you're first starting out.
So, Sandra, if someone comes to you and they are not a part of a travel group, are you able to uh, put them in touch with particular travel groups, or is that not something you do?
Oh, I can do that. In fact, when I book them, I can tell them you are going to be with a group. So I can book your travel to specifically put you with a group of people.
Okay.
Absolutely. So that it allows me that it allows me to do that using certain vendors. Like I got a text yesterday. They were like, "We have 3 spots going to Ghana. Do you have 3 people that are interested? Here's the itinerary." I sent.
Okay.
I have three
Okay.
people that are going to join. So
Okay.
that's
Now, for the
very much so.
person, that's amazing. So, for the person that wants to just try to do it on their own, um, can you talk about? I mean, I know there's some people that want to
Right.
just travel. They want to do solo travel, solo back with themselves. Um, let's talk a little bit about safety and checking in with somebody. How do you, if you're going someplace and you just may be an independent person, um, how do you, what would you advise somebody who wants to do that? And talk specifically about safety and checking in, or anything else you think is important for the solo traveler.
All right. For the solo traveler who wants to venture out by himself or herself, it would be really the same advice that I would give anybody, even here in the United States. If you're traveling abroad, there's a program called STEP, which is the enrollment into the embassy program.
Mm-hmm.
And that does is allow the United States Embassy to know where exactly you are in that
Okay.
country. If
Okay.
you're going different places, you would put that in. I'm talking about plane and train travel. If you're going on a cruise, I would still advise you to do that. But one thing about cruises, they're not going to leave unless they know all the people are accounted for, and they're going to find out where those people are. Um, I would also say you need to make sure that you have a person or persons that you check in with daily. I would say in the morning and in the evening when you
Mm-hmm.
retire. I also have created for my travelers an Amazon list of things that you need to have in your room to protect you from like a door buzzer, or how to make sure you lock your door so that no one can come in. So those are some of the things that I have um, on my list, and I send it to them. These are the things I would recommend
Mm-hmm.
you have with you if you're going to solo travel. But you definitely need to have someone or someones to contact with twice a day. Let them know where you are. Uh, Share your location so that if something happens, um, they will be able to say, "This is where Sandra was last. I talked to her at this time. This is where she was going." Also,
Okay.
share your itinerary. Make sure
Okay.
you share your itinerary with those people. But you know what? I would almost say if you're going from Atlanta, where I am now, to Texas, I would do all those things
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
um, once again, we have a lot of different things going on in our country, and you need to make
Yes.
sure that you're protected and that someone is looking for you or knows where you're at.
Yes, absolutely. I'm a stickler about those kinds of things. I want somebody to know where I am. When I was a lot younger, I was like, oh, I am a woman, hear me roar. And I didn't want to do that. But now as I've gotten older, and it was really unwise to do it then. But let me ask you something about cruises in particular. Cruises will leave you if you don't get back. What do you recommend for people going on cruises for the first time? They tell you when you should be back, but if you're going on especially on a cruise excursion, an excursion from a cruise ship, um, that's not sponsored by the cruise and sometimes even sponsored, they will leave you. What advice do you have for people on cruises? Because you read in the news about people getting left behind by their cruise ships.
Well, what I would strongly advise is don't go on any excursion that the cruise is not going to support. So sometimes that means that you are going to pay a little bit more. Now,
Mhm.
as a seasoned traveler, I've gone places and I have, for example, drivers, or I have
Okay.
travel agencies that I work for. There's also a company called Shore Excursions, which guarantees if you're not back, they will take you to the next port.
Oh,
So,
oh, I'd
but
never
that
heard
is
of that.
something through
You are just
travel agents.
you're just a
Travel,
wealth of information. I never heard of that.
yes. So their guarantee is, I always tell people you need to be back on the ship at least 2 hours before it's supposed to leave. As you said, they will leave you. There's a difference between um, you know, you making a decision that you want to be out, because when you go outside the ship on those ports, there's always people that are there to offer you a sweet deal.
Hmm.
You can't go with all the sweet deals. You need to be able to learn discernment. But my main advice would be, if it's not approved by the cruise ship, don't go on it, because the cruise ship will not leave those people. Now that's
Right.
a guarantee. If it's an hour late, they'll stay there because that's something that they sanction.
Okay. Okay. Whew. So, what makes so what we talked about health, we talked about safety, we talked about comfort. Um, what do you advise people um, that they should be doing when going on a long trip or a more active trip? You sort of touched on it earlier. If you're going for a long time, when you're beyond 60, you may be on medications. Even if you're not 60, you may be on
On
medications. What do
medicine.
you
Yeah.
advise people? How important is it you talked about the itinerary. What are some special things that people need to think about if they're going on a long trip? Like I have been wanting to go on a 3-month cruise. I can't get anybody to go with me yet. But anyway, uh, what would you advise somebody who's doing that?
Research.
Okay.
You don't go anywhere for a long time and not research the people, the history, the culture, because you need to be painfully aware of where you're at. And
Yeah.
some examples are going to Dubai, which I've been to Dubai, versus going to Morocco,
Hmm.
um, going to Egypt. When you're in Muslim countries, there's a certain way that you need to dress. Um, I would also say when you're looking at long trips, and now I'm just going to go back to the basics as far as what you need to have to prepare for that. And that is, and people might laugh at this, but on those long trips on the plane, you need to constantly be hydrated.
Hmm.
You definitely need to have it before hours or more. You need to have on compression socks.
Hmm.
People are like, oh no, I don't. Yes, you do. Because you're sitting, and even if you're in the first class, you're still not moving. Your body is not moving. You
Right.
should get up, walk the plane. You need to make sure that you have on those compression socks. You need to make sure that, I'm going to say this, don't eat everything. Your digestive system is not the same. When you get there, there are certain people, oh, I'm a foodie. No, ma'am, no, sir.
I
You
learned
might
that
be
painful
cool.
lesson on one of my trips. I won't do that again.
Not only do you need to take your medicine and take it on time religiously, you also need to take Benadryl. You need to take something for upset stomach. You need to take something for diarrhea. You need to take leave or some kind of ibuprofen. Those are medicines that need to travel with you everywhere that you go. And
Okay.
that's just in the United States too. It's not overboard.
Yeah.
Now, I want to say this again. Don't eat everything when you their water system is not the same. It's not filtrated. Sometimes, you think you're getting, do not eat off of food trucks. There's just certain things that you need to do health wise that you might be
I've done a
comfortable
lot
with
of those
doing.
things.
Um, you might feel comfortable doing here. Make sure you drink bottled water. Make sure that it's water that the cap is secured. Those are some of the things that I would say. Um, You just need to get sick overseas one time. Oh, and not be able to get top quality medical
Yeah.
where you understand the importance of where you're going. Um,
That you are so right. You are so right. So you talked about, so can you talk a little bit about travel on a budget? Not everybody has a lot of funds, but what I heard you say, I think I heard you say was that you can curate an experience of people who don't necessarily have a lot of money. You can travel on a budget. So how do you stretch your travel budget without really what's the word I'm looking for, without ruining the experience you want to have?
well, I would say the most economical way to visit countries, to most countries, is really to take a cruise because a cruise allows you to go to more than one
Mm-hmm.
country at a time.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and cruises, not just cruises, but vendors that I deal with, they have sales. Sometimes they have 2-for-1 sales. They have
Mm-hmm.
sales, summer sales, they have spring sales, they have winter sales, they have Christmas sales. And so one of the things that I would always say to my people that I have worked with, I say, okay, it's sale time, it's Christmas time. You
Mm-hmm.
can do 2-1, and you can do the 2-for-1, and it sometimes goes out 2 years, not just 1 year. So you're able to use your credit card. You're able to make payments. They also have some things where you could take a trip and pay them later. That's called
Mm-hmm. Okay.
some
Okay.
companies like Firm. Now, about that, you need to have a certain credit score for you to get that approved.
Yeah.
But you can, if you do it so far ahead, 6, 12, 18 months, you're able to make payments. So that way it may be easier for you to use that in your budget.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
more amenable.
Okay. So we have just a few minutes, and so I'm going to ask you some
Okay.
just a quick round here. I'm going to ask you some personal questions, and I'm going to ask you just because you're such a worldwide traveler. Uh, so, of all the places you've helped others explore, and perhaps you yourself have been, what keeps you inspired about travel? And is there a destination that still takes your breath away? So, the first one,
Um,
what keeps you inspired about travel? Because
what keeps me inspired is I haven't seen. I've gone to 40 countries, and there are 100 and I believe 60 countries. So I have many more to explore. Um, I think as I said before, I love to read.
yeah,
I love languages and I
yeah,
love people. So I'm always excited about meeting people and having different experiences. And I'm not the type of traveler that just says, oh, okay, yes, I've been there. What I want to do is I go into where the people are. I get
yeah,
to have them give me recommendations of where they would go. Where is the best place? Not on traveler advisor list, but where are the people? And I've said this before. The word in Spanish, I say mi gente. That means my people. And 3/4 of the world are brown and black people.
okay,
And I want to see and visit as many places as I can to learn about people, their desires, their loves, their wishes. So it's going to also help me do my complete my travel book that I'm going to do. It's going to be one where I look at different countries and the places that I've visited. So
okay. So, very quickly, a destination that, if there is one of the 40 countries you visit, is there one destination that still takes your breath away?
Santorini, Greece, when the sun sets.
Oh,
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
it is beautiful. It is beautiful. So, and one final question. Um, what is there one place, and I know you've been so many places, you would tell people to go if they're looking to say, I want to take this one trip. I know you would curate it for people, but is there one place you would recommend?
This is the second place that blew me away, and that was Zanzibar, Tanzania.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Just beautiful. Um, there are no words. I mean, that and Santorini have left me speechless, and that's hard. I think Tanzania, the fact that when the Indian Ocean
Mhm.
goes out, that you can walk on the actual bottom of the ocean. Um,
Wow,
so you can
that's
go a mile out or 2 miles, and that was just so amazing to me. Um, and just the beauty of that and the people are
yeah.
just amazing.
Wow, wow. Well, Sandra, thank you for being with us. And I am just going to close with our audience. I'm just so grateful to you. I have learned so much from you just preparing for this segment, but then hearing you today. So I am going to close with our silver lining, which is a reflection we use to carry for people to carry with them. So I'm going to say that travel after 60 does not have to begin with the biggest trip, the farthest destination, as Sandra has told us, are the most expensive itinerary. Sometimes the most meaningful travel begins with the simpler question, what kind of experience fits my life right now? And Sandra
Mhm.
has told us about how she curates that. Maybe it's a weekend trip with a friend. Maybe it's a group tour where someone else handles the details, works with Sandra, and and you can't complain after you do that. I've been on groups where I've said to the person, you do it, and I promise not to complain. And one of the trips was to Paris, and I was too busy to plan the trip. And one of the things this person planned was a cooking session. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe she did this. She's a loves to cook, and I cook when I need to eat. Anyway, that was the most wonderful experience we had in France. She found a chef, and it was wonderful. So maybe it's a cooking session, maybe it's a train journey, a national park, a river cruise, anything. The silver lining is this: retirement can give you more permission to travel with intention and more opportunities to travel with intention. You can choose the pace, the purpose, the people, and the kind of memories you want to make. So here's the takeaway: choose one place you would like to go in the next year, right? Plan it and take one small step towards it. Look up the best season to visit, call a friend, check your budget, talk to a travel advisor. Sandra's open to talking with people, research a group trip,
Absolutely.
put the idea on people. You do not have to plan the whole journey today. You only have to begin. And Sandra, tell our viewers and our listeners where they can find you. I know we're going to post it later, but if you could tell them your contact information, that would be great.
Great. You can, thank you for reminding me. You can definitely reach out or friend me on Facebook at Sandra C. DeShazier. And on Instagram, my Instagram handle is Global Deshay, GLOBALDESHAY. Thank you.
So, thank you again, Sandra, for being here with us. And I just love your sense of adventure and the fact that you're still traveling. And to you, our listeners, I want to thank you for joining us for this episode and for being a part of this first season of Beyond 60 Unscripted. When we began this journey, I had hoped these conversations would open up space for honest stories about what it really means to live fully beyond 60 or after 60. Over the course of this season, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about purpose. We've talked about grief. We've talked about beauty. We've talked about retirement. We've talked about reinvention, creativity, travel, and so many of the questions that come with the stage of life. The response from you, our listeners, has meant just so much to me. Hearing that these conversations have encouraged you and resonated with you made me think. They helped me to feel that I was maybe hitting the mark. You told me that they help you feel seen, are reminded that you are not alone, and that this has been one of the great joys for me of this first season. So we're going to take a short break. but we will be back this summer with season 2, a whole new series of episodes, a whole new series of conversations and inspiring guests. And I have to tell you, I am already excited. I have so many ideas and so many thoughts about where we can go next. So many stories that still have to be told. So many stories that I want to explore, and so many people I just cannot wait to introduce you to. So please stay connected with us. Follow Beyond 60 Unscripted on social media. Subscribe wherever you listen and share the show with someone who might need a little bit of encouragement during this season of life, this exciting season of life. So, thank you for being a part of this beginning. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for growing with us. Until we return for season 2, keep exploring, keep becoming, and keep remembering our best years are still ahead.